Ladies and gentlemen, it is an absolute honor to welcome our next speaker, who is a seasoned banker with over 29 years of experience in banking, IT, and family business. He also advises on the board of memberships for Islamic banking, wholesale and consumer banking, risk management, business development, and innovation, with senior roles at Emirates NBD, Dubai Bank, and Citigroup. And he is also the co-founder of Blink. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome to the stage with a warm round of applause, Mr. Maher Al Kaabi. Mr. Maher, عليكم السلام ورحمة الله. أهلا وسهلا.
Alhamdulillah.
The stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I had two work missions to be done before the lunch. I was actually standing over there, so you were not always supposed to have lunch early. Unfortunately, now my job is to make sure that you guys are awake, whoever had lunch. But I still see people are still outside having lunch, so very little crowd, but that's fine. My first mission was to talk about Metaverse. Till they get it up, let me just start starting with Metaverse itself. This is where the real business of virtual world going to happen. But we also need to understand what Metaverse is and why we keep on talking about Metaverse again and again, because it's an industry just started. And we need to imagine what is Metaverse. Metaverse is gonna be, here you go. Oh, before that, I wanted to ask you if it's Metaverse gonna be a reality, and we shall see that together. So what is Metaverse? Metaverse is going to be a store, a virtual store, where you will be able to go and purchase whatever you want to do, and before you purchase, you can see it. By the way, this is not a new concept. It's a very old concept. Those who've been shopping in France 12, 13 years ago, there's a mall over there. You actually can literally walk in, and you actually can try everything virtually on you in terms of color and size and the whole garment, and then get to know whether you should buy it or not. So this is an evolving concept, but it's going to become a mainstream in the future. So Metaverse is also a digital classroom where you can participate and study and learn. Metaverse is a doctor who's actually operating on patients while they're actually from a remote area. Metaverse is a place where you can socialize. So the essence of this thing, Metaverse is whatever you imagine it to be, that's going to be Metaverse. Now, the good thing about this, Metaverse is not fully defined today, which is very good, because the moment we start defining the protocol of Metaverse, tomorrow if somebody comes up and advances in Metaverse, we'll also go back to the Metaverse protocol and saying, look, your definition does not tally with this, so this is not Metaverse. So probably you will be actually crippling those people from advancing Metaverse. But in order to understand a bit of it, so two things I want you to think of it. It's a virtual shared place. So it's a virtual place, an extension of your physical world, where you actually have a blended experience, where you actually feel of what you see in the lifetime. In your real lifetime, you see it. So that is where Metaverse is. So it takes elements of AR and VR, and hopefully in the future it'll become an extended reality, what we call it AR, XR. Moving on, few facts that we need to remember. Metaverse is not an AR and VR. We said it's an element of that thing. So those are technologies going to make it available. So it's not a VR and AR. Metaverse is not just for gaming, although Roblox did a fantastic job, Fortnite did a fantastic job on this, but it's not only for gaming. Metaverse is not Web3. That's a completely different technology. My friend yesterday, Khalifa Al-Jaziri, was here yesterday presenting about Ministry of Economy created their own Metaverse, an arm where you can do all your transactions through that Metaverse. Mind you, that Metaverse was developed on Web 2. So the moral is, whatever you have available, grab it and build upon it. So it's not 3. Metaverse is not for a small group of users. Ideally, we should have thousands and millions of people hooking up. But we'll talk about challenges of how this is going to be possible or not possible in the near future. The question I would like to pose to you, do you believe that there'll be many metaverses, or there'll be one metaverse? Those who believe, despite us being a very small crowd, those who believe that there's going to be one metaverse, could you just say yes, loudly? All right. Those who believe there'll be multiple metaverses, just say yes. Okay. Let me give you opposing views now. and we'll see how does it go in the future. Those who believe there'll be only one metaverse are the same people who are saying you have only one internet. You don't have multiple of internets. You've got various websites, but you've got only one internet. So what make metaverse to have multiple metaverses and not only one metaverse, and the rest are application? Those who said yes, and their argument to that, we've got various galaxies, so why not have multiple metaverses? So whoever said yes or no, there isn't a right or wrong answer today, because honestly, we don't know. We don't know what is it going to be in the future. So this is what we know today. Now let's get closer definition of a metaverse, of what we believe it to be now. So the simpler definition is, as we mentioned earlier, how do you get a real-time experience in a virtual world interacting with people, and how that mechanism is changing your mindset, your process thought, and the way you react to that thing. What we want it to be in the future, as we understand it today, we wanted to make sure that we have millions of people are interacting together. It's not only for gaming platform, as I mentioned a while ago, it's going to be for many other things it's going to be possible. So, and how do we also interchangeably go from one platform to another platform, which is the biggest challenge today. So I'll give you an example. If you have an avatar on Minecraft, for example, and you've got certain things you purchased with money, you've got credit available. Today, you cannot take it to Roblox. Today, you cannot take it to Centraland, or so forth, or any other platform available. So how do we make sure that also we'll be able having interoperability between devices and mobile, iPads, and over the internet? Let's look at this picture. All of you recognize this? Yes? This is a clip from a movie called Minority Report. This was a very nice movie where actually imagining the future. However, this did not qualify for a metaverse. Why? Because a lot of analysts believed that it was just moving screens, a big screen, he's working a big screen, moving it. So there was no immersive reality into it. But I'll show you screens at the end of the presentation, the talk, how what metaverse looks like, also from sci-fi movies. We'll go through some of the histories of metaverse. And I'll tell you the rationale why it is important to know the history. Those who watch sci-fi movies, just go flashback 20 to 30 years, not very long ago. You'll see quite a lot of things we've seen in the movies actually became a reality. So if you're able to connect the dots between technology advancement and some of those movies, you'll see that this is a reality today. So those who are lover of sci-fi movie, my advice is continue watching it, because you'll get to know what future is taking through. Give you a very simple example. 30 years ago, who believed that you'll have a phone on your wrist? Very few of us, right? So keep on watching it. Now, how do we go back and backdate in terms of the metaverse or the concept of the whole thing? It started with a multiplayer game called MUD, which stands for Multi-Users Under Dungeon, started by two students in Essex University in the UK. And they played this game online. Of course, they came up with the version 2 as well. But if you speak to someone called Bernard Maher, he is a serial winner of many what he call books that he wrote, about 30 books about AI, data, and many other things. He will actually predate it not from 1978, but all the way back to 1838, when Sir Charleston actually came up with the concept of binoculars. And what they did, they used two images from each eye to create an image of a 3D, which led to the development of how do you create an image by creating a depth, which is exactly what is used today in the VR headsets that we use today. So it dates back to 1838. After 1978, some of us probably remember the movie Tron, which is the first movie to live a digital world. Of course, there was a sequel to the movie in 2010, if I remember correctly. Jeff Bridges was actually in it. Anybody saw the movie? Yes? I see you nodding of one person only. Okay, not a movie guy, take over here. Then a sci-fi movie, a book came up, Neuromancer, which they talked a lot about cyberspace. So you can see how the topics of Meta was actually evolving. In 1992, that was the first time the word meta was coined by another sci-fi movie, or a sci-fi book, which was written, Snow Crash. And then we moved to the movie which has changed the industry of filmmaking, in my humble opinion, The Matrix, which is an individual human being living in a digital world, completely immersed, does not even see the reality, thinking that is the reality for them. Moving forward with that, Second Life is a platform where you can live digitally and virtually in it. The platform is still available. You can download it, and you can live your life in a virtual world. Of course, they made 1 million people in just about 4 years since they launched in 2003. Then we all know Roblox came up in 2006, and in last year, they had almost 55 million active users on Roblox. Moving on from Roblox, we had another sci-fi movie by Steven Spielberg, a very famous movie called Ready Player One, where all the people are actually living in the virtual world completely. This is before the Meta coming into place. And then moving on to 2021, Facebook changed its name to Meta. And then they said they're going to pledge $10 billion just to work on the Metaverse itself. And then now the future keeps on going on. So it expands. Let's try to cover very quick things on what are the building blocks in terms of quick things about technologies for a Metaverse to happen. What are happening in terms of money, because this industry will not work if you don't have investors pumping in money into it. And why this industry is changing and how is it affecting and impacting the behavior of consumers and the companies. And what should leaders do in order to embrace Metaverse or not to embrace it? Let's go into how do you make the Metaverse. The stacks should build it. Those who are engineers and programmers, I mean, I remember I started making my gaming, the first time I made a game, started using a computer called Commodore 64, early 80s. So I used to making games at that point of time, which is the same kind of a language used in the MUD1, which we talked about when we were talking about the history. So for you to have the Metaverse stack being developed, the first stack is all about knowing the content, how you develop the content, and what's the experience behind it. Then you require the platform, the various operating system for you to connect that thing. And then you require the infrastructure hardware and the other things, which is the enablers in terms of your payment gateways, security patches to recognize you and so forth. Now, there are challenges for this to happen, and I alluded to that thing a while ago, why this is not very easy to do, and I was talking also about it in the lunch. So the current challenge is this. Remember I told you Metaverse is whatever you can imagine it to be. Our imagination is actually far stronger than what technology can do today, because the imagination, there's no limit for us to imagine. However, the technology, the pace it can keep up, it's going to be very, very difficult, not easy. The computing power it's required for Metaverse really to work, it's going to be huge. I'll give you a simple stat and example. Again, I was using it in the lunch. For you to watch a movie for 1 hour on your desktop or a laptop, vis-a-vis watching the same movie on what you call cloud, it actually produces 1 million times more gas emission, because that's in the cloud. It's using cloud services, computing powers. I'll refresh with another example. We require supercomputers and computing technologies to make Metaverse be enabled in the future as well. And those are working, but not yet there. It's going to take some time. We know how do we store data in computers. It used to be binary, 0 and 1. This is how we've been taught in computer languages. But 5 years ago, that has transformed where you actually now can store data on 4 bits. So it's called qubit. Now, in November 2019, Google ran an experiment of a supercomputer and using quantum computing. So for you to have a supercomputer, you need to also have processing power, so both software and hardware. They ran mathematical operation over 200 seconds. And that's it, and it stopped. In comparison, if they would have ran the same mathematical operation on a normal laptop or the super fastest laptop traditionally available, it would have taken roughly 1 million years. You can imagine how strong the quantum computing is. and the energy it takes. Why did they stop after 200 seconds? Can anybody guess? Because it will actually take the entire city's electricity and it will blow up the computer. You cannot sustain that power, computing powers. So that talks us about what are the gadgets required, hardware and software. Those, again, in the computers industries, they know the graphic cards makes a lot of power, provide a lot of powers to your computing powers of the computers. So the one RTX card for a graphic card on your computer, and you can stack 4 if you want to, each is roughly $9,000, and that's only at personal use. Imagine taking this on a cloud where millions of people are interacting together. What power you require over there? Moving on, in terms of the investment we talked about, I'll just go directly to this slide, so it's going to be easy to remember. We all know and read in 2022, the amount getting into the metaverse technology development has doubled than 2021. It's touched $120 billion. And the forecast is perhaps this year it will be $500 billion. Let's wait and see how it's going to happen. Those who've interacted and consumer were active on Metaverse, 79% of them at least made one purchase. When they interviewed, luckily, the top executive of companies, 25% of them said, in the coming 5 years, we believe that Metaverse will actually generate 15% of their top line revenue. Those are really huge numbers for companies making billions of dollars. And these are top companies in the US, by the way. So 15% is something you cannot really fathom and nor you can ignore. And of course, 95% of them, when they were interviewed, all these top executives, they said, in 5-10 years, definitely they'll be investing and working on Metaverse. Going on, what's also making the investment flow happen? Why people are excited to, what do you call, invest in Metaverse? We already spoke about a few things, which is the money it can generate, the power it can generate. But the other thing is us. Because we are actually hooked up in actually making sure that we are on Metaverse quite a lot. So when we talk about demographic tailwinds in the US, they have studied the market over there. 51% of individuals who are on Metaverse are actually age of 13 and younger. So that's mean the consumer like us are making the difference. And when they checked with the adults, 75% of the adults said that they will actually start using Metaverse. So it is us who's making these changes happen. And we're hoping that we get away only not for Metaverse, not to be only for gaming, although gaming made a very good head start for us to be and develop in the Metaverse, but it's going to be for so many other applications we talked about, education, social gathering, your e-commerce, and many other things like that. If you look at these two consumer brands, on the right side, you will see what businesses believe that they're going to be working on Metaverse on. And on the left side, you can see what the consumers are saying it, which is something we talked about, how it will be used in entertainment, social gathering, gaming, travel, shopping. When it comes to businesses, how will they use this in terms of learning and education, conducting meetings, conducting seminars, and many quite other things. I'm trying to rush it a little bit because of the time, and they've shortened my time because of the lunch as well. Few more slides to go. Do you think Metaverse will replace our life? Yes? Can you shout? I'm so glad you guys said that. It will never replace our life, and I hope not to. Go back to the movie we talked about, Ready Player One, right? Where that was a movie where the entire society was living in a metaverse or a digital virtual reality. It can never happen like that in real life. To my expect, Metaverse, it's going to be there. It's going to be an extension arm to wherever we have anything on real life. But it will only complement it, and it will not replace it. It will help it to grow, but it will not overtake. So it's important that we realize that. This important technology is good to have for the future, but it also comes with heavy baggages. So we need to make sure that we act responsibly in a balanced way. Last but not the least, talking about what should business leaders do, and it's very, very important. The first thing I always say is into 3 categories. Whatever you do, anything, please get your why cleared. Try to understand why you're doing these things. Whether you want to go for Metaverse, or you don't want to go for Metaverse. And that's applicable to any business you want to start as well. Please get that clarity why you want to do it. Once you're clear, communicate with your team, come up with a strategy. And then you start your journey of building the Metaverse concept within the organization. You test it. Because you may not know, maybe it's not going to work for your industry. Although we believe it's going to be open to whatever we imagine, but maybe you're not at the right time for the technology to support to whatever you want to do. So test it out, get the user feedback, and once you think that this is really, really working very strong, launch it. Launch it big time, and just go together. I promised you I'll show you a few pictures of whatever Metaverse look like. And I also told you guys, whoever watching sci-fi movie, continue watching them. It'll give you a lot of hints in the future on what technology is coming up. We all remember that, Elon Musk, right? That was a good example of actually Metaverse, where you actually immersively get into the cube and touch it, which was a virtual cube. Yesterday we saw a speaker showing us a painting, and you're immersing through a painting and a various painting. This is where he's actually immersing in a human body in front of him virtually. Imagine this thing, you're a doctor, or you're still learning to get your doctorate degree, and you want to learn how the body parts really work. I think this learning is unparalleled. Taking back that to education system in the classroom. If we're able to simulate formulas in a more meaningful way, rather than the boring way we do today, I think our children will be able to learn much faster, will be more cognitive, more aware of what work needs to be done. So these are some of the examples how actually Metaverse will look like in the future of what we know today. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, do we have any, by the way, Mr. Maher, thank you very much for all the insight and wonderful information.
Pleasure.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Maher Al Kaabi? No questions? All right.
Anita.
Crypto Grin?
Had to talk.
Thank you. I have to agree. You are amazing, Mr. Maher. I'm so happy I made it to listen to you.
Thank you.
Where do you see will be the first real-life usage for Metaverse? So where do you see that the adoption will really start to fly, as we know, where in every business segments or areas of life you can utilize Metaverse? So what is your opinion on this?
I think it's an excellent question. Reason is, we as human beings and Homo sapiens, unfortunately, are driven by dollar values. So whatever is going to generate money for us, I think we're going to be probably investing over there. So I think e-commerce will be immediately something the businessmen are going to be looking at that, because it's how do I put in $1 and get $10 back in terms of making sure I can make more sales. I can bring a lot of people from different parts of the world to come and buy things online in more an immersive manner, so increase sales. So I think Amazon is very well in really adopting and working on that. I know for a fact that I have some people working in Amazon in the US, and they're actually working on it, but they're not able to share any information.
We've got time for one more if there's any other questions. All right, I guess we're okay. There's one more over there. And by the way, Mr. Maher, if anybody wants to get in touch with you, if anybody wants to contact you or reach you, how could they do that?
Like Loretta, I'm here and I'm outside. You can catch me out.
All right.
Hi, that was a wonderful presentation, but as you mentioned...
Sorry, would you be able to give us your name and what you do?
Sorry,
Thank
it's
you.
Ala Alessa, and I invest in energy infrastructure. And as you mentioned, actually one of the biggest challenges is the energy required for the metaverse to be, especially on a cloud, on a larger adaptation like the internet. How do you see that impacting where the metaverse is going to go and its development going forward?
Thank you for the question. Excellent question. I really didn't want anybody to ask me that question, and I'll tell you why. Because I always sound like an oxymoron. I also speak into the energy. I'm actually the member of the council for the UAE. And they wanted to put me into the council of Metaverse. I said, can you guys please spare me? Because I cannot be in both councils where I'm talking about energy conservative and circular economy. And at the same time, I'm trying to promote technologies, which is consuming technology. But coming to give you an answer to what I foresee it, I think some of the technology advancement will help in bringing up new technology where you have less power being consumed. I'll give you an example. So let's say all the solar panels that we've been doing, improving for the past 30 years, it's actually technology and the science and the math behind it and the science behind it make that possible over 20 years that it is conducive for us to use solar panels. Earlier, it used to be so expensive for us to use. And so forth, there are many other, one of the great things that we're talking about in the UAE and globally as well is how to use the green energy, the green hydrogen. And that's going to be probably a game changer. Another thing to that thing, how do we use nuclear, what do you call waste or nuclear things, and actually make up energy and through a fusion circle that is. So I think some part of technology will help in terms of reducing the energy requirement, but as it stands today, to be honest with you, these are power-hungry systems. They will consume a lot of energy, there will be a lot of gas emission happening, so it's an oxymoron going against all the things that the activists are doing on climate change.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Maher Al Kaabi, thank you very much for the wonderful
Pleasure.
insight provided.
Thank
We
you very
appreciate
much.
it.
Thank you. Thank you.